to Genz Matters, where we bring our perspectives to the world. Today, I'm here with Brooklyn Senaway from Gen Z Votes from the California area. Hi, Brooklyn. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great today. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and speaking with me. So, before we get started on all the different things we're going to cover in today's episode, would you mind introducing yourself and your organization?
Yes, of course. My name is Brooklyn Senaway, and I'm the president of Gen Z Votes California Central Valley chapter. Gen Z Votes is a nonprofit, nonpartisan, youth-led organization focused on empowering young people through education and active participation in the political process. We believe in giving everyone the tools to make informed decisions and contribute to shaping their communities.
I think that is such an important mission, especially with what's going on in today's landscape with the whole 2024 election. So you guys are definitely doing really important work. What kinds of events do you have going on right now, or how do you help educate different people in your area?
Yeah, right now we are about to put out 3 different interviews. So one with our superintendent of our school district and a candidate of the school board, along with a government employee. So we're going to put those out on our Instagram and kind of just ask questions to our interviewee and just about youth voting and how they would implement that in schools and in policies and things like that. And we also are holding voting drives at our school. So that will be held September 17th because it is National Voter Registration Day. So we're going to have that also.
That is really, really cool. I had a question now based on what you were saying with the youth voters. So when you're referring to youth voting, are you talking about those 18 plus of age? Because I do know, at least in New Jersey, we have a movement called Vote 16 NJ. Well, it's a nationwide thing across the US. And so I'm betting there's definitely some kind of section in California as well. But I know that that kind of movement is trying to allow 16 and 17-year-olds to have the privilege of voting in school board elections. So is that kind of the thing that you're talking about or referring to, or just general elections?
Yeah, so our target audience is not only those who are 18 plus who are able to vote in the, that national election and other local elections. It's also those who are 16 and can pre-register to vote and kind of getting that information out to them, because a lot of 16-year-olds don't even know that they can pre-register. They're like, oh, I'll just wait till I'm 18 and I'll deal with it then. But a lot of times when they turn 18, it may be too late to register to vote for even a national election. So we really want to get that information out there to everyone.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Because also, when you become 18 and you become an adult, you're also most likely going to be going through a lot of different changes, whether that be finishing high school and starting college or going on to a job. So trying to figure out the whole voting process might be something that's more on the back burner. So I do agree with what you guys are doing. It's setting it up at an earlier age. So kudos to you. So kind of now going into the topic of voting, what exactly is the power of a vote and how can it impact communities?
Voting is one of the most impactful ways to make your voice heard. I mean, voter turnout, particularly among the youth, tends to be low. So by showing up, you can influence decisions that affect your future, including elections, whether they're local, national, or any type of election. They have consequences, and your vote can tip that scale.
That is really interesting. I think that probably a lot of our viewers don't necessarily know that, because I know we target like a younger, like Gen Z audience. So I think it's really important for them to hear that your vote really does have an impact in your local area. When everyone thinks of national elections, sometimes it might feel a little daunting. Like, what power do I have as an individual to affect something on such a large scale? But voting isn't just on a national level. It's also at a statewide and local level. And it is so important to constantly stay engaged with that. So with the youth, you said that it's low voter turnout. What exactly do you think is hindering that and keeping it at such a low bar? And what kind of ideas do you have to help increase that for the future?
I think that young people, especially people under the age of, 21, I would say that they think that their vote simply doesn't matter. They're like, well, I'm 18 years old. What does my voice matter? Like, I'm just a kid. Like, I have plenty of time. in my adulthood to, make these decisions and vote and change kind of my future then. They kind of want to hold it off because they don't think their voice does matter, when that's absolutely not the idea at all. I mean, like, even getting involved in local elections at age 18, you have an immense amount of power at that point, because local elections affect you more than even, I mean, you could say national elections directly, because, you live in that area and those are your city's policies. And it's so important to know that there's also local elections, not just national ones. And your voice really does matter, no matter your age.
Yeah, no, I really agree with you on that statement. I'm definitely a person who's really big into trying to get voter turnout to increase, and I personally love civic engagement. So this summer I was doing an internship, and as part of that, we had like a weekly speakership series, and with that, we had a local assemblyman come and speak to us. And he was telling us that he would much rather meet with the local representatives and the local county boards to try and enact real change than he would meet with those super high up in Washington, D.C. Because on the local level, the change you enact can be so much more impactful than that on the national scale. So I totally agree with you on that. So I know I mentioned the term civic engagement before. Can you define that for the viewers and how important it is?
Well, civic engagement is kind of your engagement in your community within, like, getting involved in either like nonprofits or voting or really anything like that, or getting the word out there about the political process. Civic engagement is more than just voting. It's about contributing to the community, staying informed, and participating in activities that actually make a difference. I mean, whether it's through school events or nonprofits, we encourage everyone to find ways to get involved.
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of different ways. I'm really glad that you mentioned that voting isn't the only one, because that's the primary conception. That's what everyone thinks, that, oh, to be civically involved, I just have to vote. Whereas, like, to make a true impact on your community, it goes so much further than that. So, what is exactly the difference between voting on a local level versus voting on a national level? How does the process work to register? Is it the same process? Is it different? And what are some of the dates that revolve around those cycles?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, local and state and national elections are all different, as you would know, but they do have similar registration processes. So I know there's a few local elections that you actually have to register separately for, and it's a whole different website through the California like voter registration website. So you would have to go to like a different link and register there. But a lot of times the local and state and the national ones also use your registration from one website. So it really depends. So you have to kind of look at that. But that's the kind of thing that's going on with those types of elections.
Thank you for giving us that clarity. I was going to ask, as part of your nonprofit, do you guys ever do phone banks or canvassing to reach out to voters in your area? Because I know recently, as part of some of the nonprofit work that I've been doing, I've had to do that for the first time. And an experience that I was kind of reflecting on recently was how difficult it can be to really convey the importance of voting. So kind of it's like a two-part question. Number one, does your nonprofit kind of deal with those processes? And then number two, how do you effectively communicate the importance of voting?
Yeah, phone banking is one of our biggest outreach things. I mean, you can reach 50 to 100 people by just texting them. And it is hard to convey that message because a lot of people simply are like, I don't care, I don't want to hear your message. You have to make it sound a certain way, so you have to gear it towards your audience. You can't make it too like formal or too informal. It has to be like the perfect medium where you can kind of gather their interest and put that into the message. So it's kind of difficult at times, but it's really important.
No, I definitely agree with that. Another thing that I've been thinking about more as we are approaching the election is how kind of apprehensive people are to, at least Gen Z is, to kind of approach these topics. Because in their eyes, the whole political sphere these days has become really polarized. And I'm speaking purely from a bipartisan perspective. I'm not advocating for one party or the other, but I know we do live in a really polarized climate. So, just like I know brainstorming, this is just like a conversation kind of thing. How do you suggest like kind of going about tackling the political climate that we live in nowadays?
Yeah, of course. So I think before you should even get into a conversation about politics, you should look and dive into all types of information. So whether it's swishing through all the news channels, getting all the neutral information you can, and not just looking at like a certain party's perspective, because that can be something that's, you know, a touchy subject. And it can lead you down a path of misinformation and disinformation. And it really doesn't help any growth in political conversations. So I think that's the main thing you should do before you have those conversations. But while you are having political conversations, you should, look at all sides of the conversation and not just your kind of views, and make it to where it's informative and not just argumentative and opinionated, if in that sense.
No, thank you so much for saying that. I think those were really powerful and impactful words and really great advice. So, thank you so much once again. Kind of going off what you were saying about looking through all news sources, I think another huge topic that aligns with that is bias in the media, right? Like all of these different news stations in today's world always lean in some kind of direction, whether that could be towards the left or to the right. It doesn't necessarily matter exactly what direction it's leaning in. It's more the fact that it is leaning in a direction. So when going about looking at this bias, how do you suggest trying to find the most factual and accurate information for the election season?
It's definitely difficult, especially with AI sources and kind of fake videos or chopped videos. It's very difficult. So my advice for those people looking to look into politics and that kind of information would be go to not only our Instagram, because we post a lot of informative posts on there that are neutral, but to also look at every single source that has like maybe a .org or a I know some news stations are definitely difficult to reach in that way because they do have a lot of one party information and one party opinion. So it's definitely difficult. But I would just say, again, to go through all the news stations, a lot of the articles, especially the .org ones, or even college websites, a lot of those are not geared towards any party. So I would say that if you're looking to look into that kind of information.
I think those were also some really great tips. And I do think like being mindful of your sources is so important because again, with AI, a lot of these things that you're seeing, whether that be on your Google Ads page or even on social media, like it's really important to actually figure out what is real information and then what is not. So thank you for bringing up that topic as a whole. I'm wondering, what is your advice as to how people can get involved this election season and locally in their communities?
I think, joining nonprofits like ours is a great start. You don't have to like join to be a part of the team, but just kind of look at the information we have and kind of join our events or just kind of get involved in any school event that has to do with the upcoming election or elections in general. But you can also participate and go to school board meetings, and you can see the policies that they're making there, along with like city council meetings and volunteering for campaigns. I mean, local involvement allows you to have a tangible impact on your community, and that's really important.
I totally agree. I think that having that impact by actually showing up, being present and aware can definitely make a huge difference in your knowledge. So thank you so much for bringing all this up. Now, kind of to rewind back time a little bit, I want to talk about how you formed this organization and how you can be president. So, what was kind of your idea for coming up with such an amazing nonprofit such as this one?
Yeah, so Gen Z Votes as an organization is actually countrywide. So there are multiple chapters besides just the California Central Valley one. So program wide, we are able to reach 7 different states and around 13 different territories each filled with 3 to 5 cities. So that's a lot of outreach. And, it's just not me here. I was actually a person who started a chapter and established a chapter, but I mean, anyone really can if you have if you meet the criteria for that and you're, involved in political information and you've done your research and you've done all those types of things to, you know, engage yourself in that area. So really anyone can start a chapter. If you just go to our Gen Z Votes website, you can apply to do that. And I think that is a great thing to do if, your state or your city isn't already an established chapter. So I would say that if anyone's looking to get involved in that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, definitely if anyone's civically minded or has a strong passion in an initiative like this, definitely join Gen Z Votes. It's to establish a chapter of your own. But I'm curious, what exactly motivated you just to want to start a chapter of this specific nonprofit? Do you have any career ambitions in this field?
Yeah, actually, so my intended major when I go to college will definitely be political science. So I love politics in a way that is not like geared towards one party, but it's just more of like a general ambition for knowledge. So I just kind of really love the political process and knowing what's happening in my community and how I can make a difference. In fact, right before this, I just got back from an internship at the DA's office. So I'm definitely really interested in law. So that's something I want to do with kind of the information I've gathered from being a part of this nonprofit.
I think that is super cool. Definitely having those internships and getting that real world experience will help you build for success in your future. If you don't mind telling the viewers, what exactly does your internship with the DA entail?
So right now, since I'm a high school student, I can't exactly do a lot because I haven't, entered law school or even my undergrad. So right now, I'm just shadowing and kind of giving my opinion to the attorneys and kind of letting them know how I feel about their field and how I feel about kind of how they're doing in a way, and kind of get feedback from both of us. And like today, I got to enter the judge's chamber during a trial, and I thought it was really cool because I felt like I was an attorney and I was definitely in trial with them, but I wasn't. I was just watching, but it felt like I was, a part of it. So that's something that's great because I get a real idea of what being an attorney would be like and how they make their impact.
That is so incredibly important too, because I know, like, even just to begin with, I know there are probably a lot of undergraduates and law students working there, but the fact that you're doing it as a high schooler speaks volumes as to your character. And I can literally hear your passion through the screen, and it's so refreshing to see someone like truly interested in their specialty. So great job! Thank you so much for sharing all that information. What exactly was the process of building Gen Z Vote CCV? How did you go about forming that team and actually getting the logistics all together?
So I first found Gen Z Votes, the statewide organization, through Instagram. I was doing my research on like political nonprofits and political information, and I was scrolling through and I found this organization. I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. So I shot our owner an email and I was like, hey, like, so kind of what's your organization about and like, how can I help? And she's like, oh, you can apply to actually establish a chapter. So that's exactly what I did. I answered a few questions. I had an interview with her and then I established my chapter and kind of got my team together. I have a vice president, Christian Kevorkian, and we work together to, make these events at school happen and make posts online and kind of do our research together.
That is so cool. I know you mentioned that your other teammate, do you have like a larger team as well, or just the two of you kind of managing it?
So right now it's the two of us, but we are looking to expand our team in the future years, especially when we go to college. So we kind of have someone in Fresno that can help with those like local elections and local events.
No, definitely. I think that forming a team could be such a useful strategy, especially for a nonprofit such as yours. I know that I'm a solo because I run a podcast, so I'm literally a one woman operation. I do everything myself. reaching out, editing, script writing, the conversations themselves, and it can definitely be a burden. So I would say, well, not necessarily, I wouldn't say burden, but it can definitely be a lot for one person to handle. But it is a lot more manageable as a podcast rather than running an entire nonprofit. So I think that after speaking to other initiative leaders, for any viewers who are interested in starting something of their own, definitely look at finding a team who's just as passionate as you are in your field and willing to put in the work, and so that you can help grow your thing to the best that it can possibly be. So, my last thing to talk to you, Brooklyn, about is what advice would you have for people who want to start a chapter in Gen Z Votes or just a general nonprofit themselves?
Yeah, for future leaders, the most important thing is to, stay persistent. Find an issue that you're passionate about, like mine, which is the political process and youth voting, and do your research. Surround yourself with people who believe in your cause, but not only believe in it, but who are very passionate and will, do anything they can to help you out. Start small, but always keep the bigger picture in mind is the kind of big idea.
I think that that is the absolute perfect way to end off our episode. So, thank you so much, Brooklyn, for coming out and speaking with me today. I really enjoyed our conversation. I think that you've provided such valuable wisdom for everyone listening here today. Please, please, please support Gen Z Vote CCV. I've included all their links down in the description. They're doing absolutely fantastic work, and I highly recommend checking their pages so you can stay updated with information in the current election. And once again, do not forget to support Gen Z Matters across YouTube, RSS, and Spotify, as well as Instagram, to keep up with new episodes coming out as soon as possible. Thank you so much, Brooklyn, for joining us today, and everyone, have a great day. Bye!